Preparing live stream. So almost there?
I think we're live.
You think? It's setting up for webinar for YouTube Live. I don't know. Let me check.
Yeah, it says webinar is now streaming live. So I think it takes a while to spin up, but we are, I think, live right at this moment.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And yes, I have stopped the audio. I had both things. So welcome to Livestream, the open source Web3 design channel Livestream number 5. And today I will take the baton instead of the giant Mitch Kozowski, who has managed all these calls up till now. And we will do, like usually, 30-second intro for each of us. And then we have a roster of presentations. Richard will present a bit of balance, and we have some discussions to talk about design at these conferences coming up, ETH Berlin, Web3 Summit, and maybe some questions about DevCon that are still lingering. And Peter has also some questions to go. So I'll just start. I'm Bertrand. I work at ENS on the UX redesign of the Ethereum name service. And I'm working also with Akil and Alejandro on a Web3 design system to solve and give consistency to the Web3 UX experience on dApps. So I nominate Laura to talk, and you nominate each other.
Oh, wait, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I just introduced myself.
Yes.
Sorry, hi, I'm Laura, and I'm part of the product design team here at Consensus, and I do a lot of our community product design. I'm part of the design research team working on a participant program and the design system team. And then Rick, you're next. You're right there.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Richard. I'm working on a project called Balance, and I'm really interested particularly in financial services that are running on Ethereum. So yeah, looking forward to sharing some of the few things we've learned and what we're wanting to work on next. And we'd love to get some feedback from everyone on where the direction that's going. I nominate Peter Pan.
Hi guys, I'm working on the product at Tenzorum. Essentially, I'm just doing a bunch of key management projects. And aside from that, I'm doing a few Web3 design UX initiatives around the space, and yeah, going to be talking about Web3 Summit and the Prague Treasure Map project.
You need
Who
to
do you
choose
nominate?
Peter.
Right. Okay. I nominate Laura.
No, she's gonna like
She's already gone. Okay.
ladies first.
Mitch.
Mitch, okay, maybe Michelle. My name is Mitch Kozowski. I'm with ETH Prize. I like to talk about pain points in the Ethereum ecosystem and to bounty out projects to help solve those pain points. I nominate Minette.
All right, you guys got me this time. Hi, everyone. My name is Minette. I am UX designer for Gnosis, working specifically on the Gnosis Safe at the moment, designing for the iOS app that will be coming out hopefully in beta form later this year. And yeah, it's really nice to see everyone finally. It's dinner time over here, so I'm gonna turn off my video and cook dinner while I'm listening to you all. Oh, and I nominate Tyler.
Hi, everyone. So I'm new to the Consensus Mesh, the product design team. It's been my first week. And I'm working on at the moment, working on a game, a meme game I designed. It's kind of like a competitive meme creation game. And I nominate Gustavo.
Hey guys, my name is Gustavo. I'm a product designer with Consensus, and I work on our design systems team. Yeah, here to listen to the community, see what the design conversations are around the community, and here to listen to what you guys are all up to. And I nominate Alex.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm with the foundation. I'm doing a bunch of small projects in here. and I'm here just to. I've been hearing great things about this roundtable, and I'm very proud to be here. Anya, your turn.
Hi guys, I'm Anya. It's my third week here at Consensus, and more specifically at Uport, where I am a product designer. Who hasn't been yet?
Yeah, I haven't gone. So Akil here, working on a few different projects in the ecosystem, like Beltran mentioned. Also here to talk about what's going on at East Berlin in accordance to design. Dinner time here, so I'm going to turn off my video and tune in.
Okay, so everybody went? Yes, I think. Or Tyler, did you go?
Yep, yeah, I went. Thanks.
You did. Okay, sorry, I was kidding. Okay, so as usual, we have the moment for Rick to tell us about balance. You have 10 minutes more or less, and plus Q&A and questions. So you should share your screen if you can.
Yeah, I'm just firing it up right now. I'll do that. Cool. Let's get going. Yeah, so the thing I've been thinking an awful lot about, and the thing that kind of kicked off our work on balance, was thinking about how user interfaces create or facilitate new protocol behavior. So I think that without my Ether wallet, we wouldn't have had the kind of ICO boom of 2017. And without, I think that these, that we've really thought an awful lot about what kind of new protocol behaviors get enabled when a user interface exists. I apologize for slow internet. I'm here in Mauritius, so it's not the quickest. And I'm not sure why it's all stalling right when you do a live demo on YouTube. But yeah, I'm kind of running this through my phone. So at Balance, one thing I noticed when we were talking to people about Ethereum and what they were doing with it was their struggles to understand what tokens they had. So by default, MetaMask wasn't showing tokens. I'm kind of really confused now why our web servers are all up, and yeah, our website isn't loading. Here we go. Great. Yeah, so many people, they were confused why after an ICO or some kind of activity where they expected to get tokens, they weren't able to see those in MetaMask. And then they had to go to another product, connect to that. And then even then they had to understand the kind of concept of a contract address. And so our first goal with Balance was to really just show people what their actual balance was. And that involved a fair bit of engineering in terms of pulling together a bunch of different data sources and kind of as quickly as possible when you're given a new Ethereum address, reaching a kind of conclusion about what tokens were present in the wallet. And then the second thing was just there was quite a bit of confusion around gas, and that I think we all know is a kind of persistent issue for users that are pretty confused. And so Balance Manager, which is our first product, was really focused around those two issues, which is what are the actual balances in my wallet, and then what when I send them, I actually want to make that as simple as possible. And we solved that after about 3 months of work, and the response to that has been really positive. The thing that I noticed though, when you ask somebody to kind of do the demo of perhaps buying a CryptoKitty or things like that, is that a Chrome extension is something that we, us nerds, are really aware of, but certainly for normal people, it's quite a mental leap. And the idea of kind of having a Chrome extension and then loading money into it and going to Coinbase and things like that, it just ended up being kind of 4 concepts where you had the Chrome extension, the buying of the crypto, the sending of the crypto into the Chrome extension, and then the kind of the notion that a Chrome extension would then connect to a web-based app. And a model that we felt was a little bit more common or familiar with people was the idea of scanning a QR code. And this is less common in the West, but as far as I understand in Asia, and not that I've been, but the QR code logins have really become the standard for just about everything. And that kind of kicked off a bunch of discussions that led to Pedro coming up with this idea for Wallet Connect, which is a kind of establish a connection with a QR code. And I thought I'd just kind of show it for people who might be new to the idea of Wallet Connect. So what's happening here is there's a QR code, and I'm going to scan it with the wallet on my phone, and then this is going to kind of maintain a connection. And also we drew inspiration from Uport here, who also had a QR code login. We wanted to kind of abstract this out as a lightweight standard that any wallet or any dApp could integrate with. And I think we actually hoped that we could work with the kind of all parties, particularly on the design side, to set a set of expectations around this Wallet Connect brand, where you know that any wallet can talk to any dApp, and that there's a kind of set of expectations that will emerge around privacy and security and kind of the ability to the interoperability as well. And so, yeah, that's where the work has led us so far. One thing that we've been really happy with is a response to some people who've used our exchange product. We've tried to reduce down the cognitive overhead of exchanging to make it as simple as possible, and reducing the order book and things like that, removing all of that away, and making that as kind of clean cut and simple as possible. Many people just want to think in their kind of native currency, and so helping people understand what they're getting, what they're exchanging to, and what all of that looks like in their own native currency has proven to be pretty positive, actually. We've had a really good response to that and the way it's been working. And so here, the bit where Wallet Connect comes in is where if you want to kick off this exchange, this is then going to pass the transaction back to the phone. And then I can actually, sorry, because of the internet. So I'm just, because I'm tethering on my phone here to make sure I get the best internet. That's how Wallet Connect is functioning. It passes it back to the phone. But yeah, because I'm tethering, I can't show that right now. But the area I'd love to kind of show some of the early explorations, and something that I think we as a community are going to end up discussing a lot more, is this notion around staking, where you're kind of locking up funds almost like an interest-bearing account. And I guess I'd just love to walk you through some of my early ideas of how this might look in Cosmos, and perhaps explain a little bit there, because it's something I'd love to get feedback on, and I think it's going to be really important for Ethereum to communicate staking. And I think that Cosmos are going to be a good test bed for us to learn about this, because they're likely to have proof of stake up and running and kind of active long before Ethereum will. So we're going to get to see what works and what doesn't. So here the idea is if you were storing some atoms in your Balance wallet, then it would kind of present this stakes section, where it would explain that you can kind of earn money by staking your atoms. My thinking here is that, almost because there's so many new terms that people have to become familiar with if they want to be confident about staking, is that anything highlighted in blue would have some kind of pop-up where people can dive in even further. And definitely there's going to be lots of other ways, like illustrations and things like that, to help people get an overview. But a lot of what will make staking work or not work is to learn about the validators and then apply their stake to a validator, or bond it to a validator. And communicating things like how much stake has each validator attracted to their own kind of community, and how much have they actually put in themselves. So how much skin in the game do they have? So this is really very, I probably call it a bit too complex, but it's my first explorations. And perhaps kind of explainers around the idea of your first stake, and trying to explain what this means and why this is important. But proof of stake gets thrown around a lot as a term, but I think there's so much to explore in terms of what does it mean when people gather together and decide which validators or or computers or sets of people are we going to trust to run these networks? It's a very different operation to mining, where miners are almost kind of in the background, but stakers here are actually going to be pitching themselves and having websites and explaining why they should be trusted with your stake. And kind of explaining the performance over time, I think is really important, and helping people understand, how well those stakes are done. I don't think this is going to be a kind of mass user activity. I think it's going to definitely be for power users, but those power users are going to kind of power these stake-based networks. And I think it's a huge responsibility for us as designers to get that interface correct and make that as simple as possible for people. So yeah, these are some really early explorations. And then another thing that I was working on today, and this is somewhere that I've been thinking about a lot, is we're all kind of familiar with this concept of a dApp store, where that exists within a mobile wallet like Trust or IM Token or Coinbase wallet. But we're already starting to see Apple kind of censor these dApps. It's kind of concerning to me that this is already happening, because I think if we do start to offer financial services, that there's going to be lots more of this happening. So one area I was exploring today is a kind of 1Password style extension, which would be linked to the Balance wallet. And really the wallet then would be a kind of authenticator against Safari. So you can imagine there being a wallet connect button in your share sheet that would pop open the Balance wallet, and then it would establish a connection and allow you to log into dApps. This might be too much cognitive overload for people, but I think it's important for us to think of alternative ways to actually make these dApp interactions work and these connections. The reason I think this is important is for me right now, the exciting areas of Ethereum is this kind of emerging kind of class of open source financial systems, and where we're excited is kind of weaving together some of the kind of early. Let me just find the right image. Yeah, just weaving together some of the different protocols that have been built onto Ethereum to provide banking services. So whether it's loans from Dharma or indexes from Set, exchange functionality on 0x, interest-bearing accounts like Compound Finance, credit scoring from Bloom, or the derivatives from DYDX. I think now it's finally possible for us to have these have a kind of open source banking infrastructure, and I don't think that was really possible a year ago. So that to me is the area of Ethereum that I'm most excited about. And long term, I hope that actually what we get to do is build a really viable business by offering exchanging, referring to certain financial products, and a user interface for staking. So I guess that's a kind of overview of where we're at and what we've managed to ship, and then our kind of ideas for the future. So I'd love to open it up to questions or debate or discussion, really. And thanks very much for taking the time to have a look.
Awesome. Anybody wants to ask questions? Thanks, Rick. Go ahead, Peter.
So, hey, Rick, thanks for your demo, I guess. How did you design your staking onboarding? And how did you design it in the sense of how did you get there?
Yeah, I guess it came from a lot of discussions with the Cosmos team about the variables and looking at their progress with Voyager, and then trying to get familiar with the idea that staking is almost this kind of big security game where you're asking a bunch of nerds to set up computers that will run the network. And all of them have a huge incentive to stay in the network. And then all of the people outside the network have a huge incentive to actually hack the people who are validating and kind of bust them out of the system so they can have a chance to get in. It's almost like a kind of massive honeypot game for nerds to run hyper secure infrastructure at speed for the benefit of the network. And so when I thought of it as a game where kind of each team are trying to say, hey, you should trust us with your stake because we have 50 years of combined experience in this field. And then I felt that the kind of people that be serious about that would want a fair amount of data, a fair amount of numbers. And so that's really yeah, some of the thoughts that came into the
Right.
design.
I mean, maybe how did you do any, I mean, like, how did you get your copy? Or did you just write it yourself, or did you, I guess, you know, like, how did you write the education? I saw a fair few paragraphs there, you know, like, what made you communicate certain topics and ideas versus others, you know?
Yeah, sure. I think to me, it was a kind of mental glossary of all the things I had to Google, because I just didn't understand half of it. You know, I probably listened to like 30 podcasts from different proof of stake founders or people proposing it, read through everything about Cosmos, had a, you know, good look at and tried to understand some of the different papers that have been published. And to me, it's always, if we're going to use, you know, a key term, you know, we all understand what a miner means, but for regular folks, they don't know that. We kind of probably all roughly understand what a validator means, but it's a really kind of a new concept. And so anytime I found a bit of confusion, I was just kind of highlighting those. So the copy comes from me for now, and like sharing those screenshots with the Cosmos team has been really helpful.
Hey Rick, Alex here. So question, I don't understand, like I don't know the details on how Cosmos work, but I do notice that staking is a more broad and general thing that a lot of apps starting to use, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I would say it's a general pattern, right? You stake for proof of stake, you stake for and even like DAI now, you can probably lock DAIs and earn an interest on it. So is your goal to try to add all, like when you are doing that, were you just thinking about, look, I really want to do like an interface for Cosmos, or do you want to integrate like a general staking and using coins in balance, in balance, as something that you're as other apps add some sort of staking, you sort of try to make an interface for that too?
Yeah, it's I think the focus on Cosmos was just because they seem closest to launching something along there, so there is a bit of tailoring to them. And the cool thing about, once I posted the screenshots, and this is what I'm really finding with this attempt at kind of being pretty open about our design process, is about 5 or 6 staking protocols got in touch after that. So I definitely think that there'll be ways to generalize it. I think that one area I want to kind of consider is what things are general to all staking protocols, and what things are kind of unique, because some of them have different kind of properties. I think that I'm not entirely sure how generalized it can be, but I think that will just emerge over time. But yeah, we absolutely would like to support more protocols, and hope that some of the widgets we develop or the open source kind of UI can be repurposed and used by the protocols. We don't have the resources to support 10 or 20. So I think, we just hope that some of the work there and discovery will be great. But getting lots of feedback from people as that develops would be really helpful, because I think this is going to be really core for Ethereum and a core for like a number of protocols. The ones I'm most excited about are like Polkadot, Ethereum, and New Cipher and Cosmos in the staking kind of field.
And on that cue, I have a question for you. You talked about the users, and before talking about staking, which we understand is still speculative, but you talk about balance, saying people want to think in their native currency, or we had a good response. So who are the users, and how do you actually manage to talk with them, and what did you learn from the users?
Yeah, sure. Just gonna head outside a little bit. Give my friend a bit of space. By the way, everyone's got to buy one of these. It's called a Lumio. It's awesome. It's like you can have perfect light wherever you go, which as a designer is very important. 2 seconds. I'm just gonna give my roommate. I think a lot of it begins with our own frustrations, and then we kind of confirm those through a mix of things. So it's either like a lot of people giving feedback on Twitter, which has been pretty handy. I'd say that the DMs I get on Twitter are way higher quality than the replies, which is really, really good. And then oftentimes it will just be my mum or dad test, or it'll be my grandparents or things like that. If they can figure it out, then I know I'm on the right track. But and then every now and then we just tweet out from Balance saying, would anyone like to give it a spin? And we just have a good kind of one-on-one conversation with those people, or hop on a call if they're confused. So I wouldn't say we have a formal process just yet. It kind of starts from our own frustrations and what we want. And then it kind of confirms some of that by sharing early screenshots and then chatting to people who get in touch on Twitter.
Right now you launched, right, on the App Store?
We haven't launched on the App Store. We're going through our audit right now. So we hope to be in the App Store within a month or so.
All right. Oh, nice.
Yeah. But it's we've got the I'll post the link in the chat here so people can try it out if they'd like.
We can post it on the video chat later for everybody to go on and try Balance.
Yeah, try
Any other questions also? Cool.
Great.
So that was very good. Thank you for sharing. And we can move on the second part. I think users and all the things that you talked about are very, very important. Both the users, the staking, and all these new patterns that we are going to see. Staking is just one of them. When we are going to challenge the stakes or challenge any plasma or multi-layer, second layer chain or whatever, state channel or plasma or whatever, all these are new patterns, and we need to create new ways of thinking about them. And it's very good. I really like the way in which you contextually give the information, in-depth information, so that when you are there, you need to get that information. Because in general, today we use a lot of lingo, and we ask people to Google them, and that's not good. We lose the focus, and I think this is one of the big themes that we need to still understand and discuss in the community, which is, how do we talk to the users? Do we hide the lingo, or do we explain the lingo? Do we hide the centralization, or we onboard them onto the centralization? This is one of the things that actually I think at these conferences, when we talk to each other, maybe we can find a debate about it. And so transitioning to that, the next section of the call would be dedicated all to talk about what could we do as designers at these conferences. We've talked in the past two meetings about design at DevCon, and DevCon has closed the submissions, but there's still some maybe opportunity to do something interesting during DevCon. And there's definitely an opportunity for Web3 Summit, whose submission closes the 15th of September. And so we have 2 weeks from now to submit more design. And the interesting difference between Web3 Summit and DevCon is that Web3 Summit is not focused only on Ethereum, but it's all the Web3 stack. And so there's a lot of different other decentralized projects that need design that we could talk about. And I know that Peter wants to talk a bit about that. We had somebody else talk about Blockchain Week, but I don't know who that was, and it disappeared from the chat. So if you are in here, anybody?
No, actually, I have a question. I was kind of tuning in and out for a second, but so I'll start with this part. I don't understand much of staking yet. And I'm in the middle of doing a lot of developer interviews with the design system team to understand exactly how a developer works, particularly in front end. But if staking requires patterns of any sort, and you're working on that, Richard, and through your testing and users, if you find any useful information that you could share with us in the design system team, that would be awesome. And we're hoping that once we wrap up all these interviews, we'll have something that we can present back to this team from our findings.
Super.
Yeah, Yeah, sure. A big thing I've noticed as well is kind of user testing with Ropsten or kind of fake tokens. When there's no skin in the game, you just don't get the right kind of feedback because it doesn't have that intensity of a real financial transaction. So I'm kind of right now, I guess I'm just guessing and kind of thinking from first principles about what I think might be clearest. But in my view, I want to do what similar to what we're doing with gas, where we have the dead simple one-click button, which is like your rough earnings from kind of putting this money in. It's like a savings account, and you can just click this button and it'll all get done for you automatically. And then they're like, okay, I actually want to make some decisions with my stake and like really think through it, and that's gonna be way more advanced. But yeah, I'll be just sharing that as that progresses, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Cool. One
Minette, do you have? Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry.
I was just saying that, I don't think that a lot of them are kind of live, but I think that'd be really, really good use of Ether or whatever tokens, is to just kind of give that out to folks and then see. It's like, this is yours to play with and see what you can make of it. And yeah, that's really high value. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that, but I think that would be quite worth it. But
I would say that cost is worth it. It's hardly a cost because for me, just using like a silly real world example, like when you buy a flashlight, it comes with batteries. It's going to work as soon as you open the package. And with a lot of these dApps and things, it's like, is it really a big loss to give a first time user a little bit of ETH to at least complete like one thing so they have a task to do versus, just signing up and being like, what now?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest patterns that is emerging, I think. Started, of course, from Alex's universal login system. There's a lot of people talking about donating gas. We saw here in the chat the early Gitcoin presentation. They are onboarding users paying for the gas. There's a lot of people discussing how to do also other things, like give them tokens or paying for transactions. Like the Austin Griffin presented the meta transaction framework, and that's a big theme in the community. Alex, did you want to voice about that?
Yeah, on that sense, there are like nothing's closed on DevCon, but we are helping schedule, and there are so many submissions about how can we abstract gas from the users, how can we have users don't worry about gas, how can we do all of that. That we are thinking on getting everyone together in the same room and making a big round table instead of having like 10 presentations about the same thing, because it's clear that like it's a huge pattern. As much as off-chain computation was a huge pattern a few months ago, I think that right now a lot of projects are doing very interesting things, trying to answer this very question on how do we solve this problem of needing to have Ether, right? How do you abstract gas from users? How do you make them use something paying with tokens instead of Ether and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's really, there's a lot of mind share on it. I think it's well worth it. I know Alex is working with ETHWorks for universal logins, Austin Griffith, meta transactions, and talking about bouncer proxies, but the gas cost is just like shipping cost for Amazon. And people just have this, you cannot have like people like, oh, I can play my Pokemon on Ethereum, but it's going to cost me every time I battle. It's a non-starter. And so we can kind of abstract this away and then suck this into the process, into some process. I think it could be a game changer, like the Amazon Prime for blockchain.
I don't know. The one thing that, sorry, Aldrin, but the one thing that I find a little bit confusing with comparing it to like the Amazon Prime fee is that when I have that Amazon Prime, like I know my things are going to come, and I don't know that with gas. And I feel like it's more like you're in the line for a club and you bribe the bouncer with a bunch of money, your gas, but you don't know if you're going to get in or not. You don't know. So it's kind of, I wouldn't want to say it's like a subscription fee necessarily, or like that implication, because with Amazon, you know it's going to happen versus you don't know.
And I sort of like Mitch's comparison with Pokemon, because if you tell them, look, it's going to cost you Ether every time you battle your Pokemon, then your reaction will be, oh, that's terrible. But if you tell them something like, oh, it's gonna cost you energy, or there's a small chance that your Pokemon will simply die and go to somewhere else, then suddenly it's part of the game, right? Because, oh, okay, then I just need to think about how much energy can I put on my Pokemon and things like that, right? It's gonna cost you food. So suddenly, when it's part of the game, you don't see it as like a microtransactional thing. And I agree, it must be something that guarantees you something. So it can become more like Amazon Prime and less like bribing your department.
Yeah, I like the abstraction of gas to just like energy and fuel and food versus just gas.
Just to piggyback on that, there's actually a workshop happening at the Berlin in regards to account abstraction and EIP 859. And then we're going to have a follow-up to that at the UXON conference. I think Peter's interested in kind of facilitating a conversation around this as well at the unconference. And then we're going to have quite a bit of interaction as far as like how to do user onboarding better. So to the people that are attending, is going to be a good conversation around that with a lot of people involved.
And also to who was speaking there?
Oh, it's Minette. Hi.
Minette, go ahead. Yes.
Just wanted to actually just do the gas. It's interesting. I mean, I came in at mid-project, but basically the Gnosis Safe team had decided that they did not want to show give the user any choice of gas. There's no word. The word gas does not even appear in the app. What does appear are transaction fees. So we figured, okay, well, our closest analogy are kind of like backing apps, and users will be familiar to some degree with transaction fees. We're going to assume that users want it to be fast, so we're making the decision for them, how much gas to inject into the transaction, and then we tell them it's part of it. Unfortunately, at the moment, they still have to pay for the creation of the safe, which I think is still a barrier for some people. But it is interesting to me, and I've gotten so used to it that whenever I now come across an app that asks for gas, that asks me to make a decision about gas, I'm like, oh, I have to go backwards and then I have to think harder. So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to the conversation when you guys, for those of you coming to Berlin.
Yeah, it's very good. And tying on all this, something that we worked at the ENS hackathon is exactly in this line and in what Laura was saying, to give also tokens. So the problem with ENS is that to buy ENS, you need to be an expert user. You need to have wallets, you need to have tokens or Ether, which means you have gone through an exchange and through their KYC. So it's already you are an expert user, and we want to turn it upside down so that even no coiners that don't have anything, they don't have a wallet, they can be onboarded, okay? And through that, which is a process similar to Alex's universal login, they get a username and they get a wallet there, which is maybe authorizing a smart contract wallet, and all these other keys are hidden to the user. They never have to store them because they are not stored. We added a second layer, which is, okay, now I have my wallet, but what do I do? So I was envisioning kind of an alliance for mass adoption where companies would provide both the gas and the transaction cost to deploy this contract invisibly to the user, okay? And also maybe to incentivize the user to use these other dApps that are part of this alliance. So that I consider this to be kind of the customer acquisition cost. Any company has a customer acquisition cost. In the blockchain, we all share that beyond acquiring them to our own dApp, we need to onboard them onto the blockchain. And so maybe there's an opportunity there to create something interesting. We're going to hack more about this at ETH Berlin, and we can talk about that. But now we should probably transition to Peter, who had stuff to talk about ETH Berlin and Web3 Summit. Peter.
Hey guys, so essentially today I talked to Josh from Web3 Foundation about having a UX node right? And essentially they haven't released too much information about the hackerspace that is available at the Web3 Summit, but essentially they're going to have a breakout room, right? Where people can set up desks and tables and run activities. This Web3 Summit is 3 days long, and essentially you can do many different things on it. One idea I proposed, which I talked to him about, was essentially having I guess like a product research node where essentially I'm not sure how to design the node yet, or the workshop, or the station yet, but essentially the idea is that at the conference you'll have a very specific amount of people. I mean, probably just crypto people in general, right? And the thing is, it's an opportunity for different projects to conduct face-to-face research, right? And there's whether there might be usability testing to, I guess, user interviews. It's an opportunity however you may use it. And I just talked to Josh about how we can help, I guess, facilitate the recruiting of people to do this, to be part of the research. And yeah, I'm not sure how it might exist or come into form, whether it might be just like a, you know, I help recruit people for different teams or projects that are looking to do research, and we help you set up a schedule, and we provide you a table and a desk or whatever to do that. You know, it can be super simple, but I'll have a Google Doc here with just like for anyone to throw up their thoughts on how this may be run, because I am still deciding, well, I'm just figuring out how to really do it efficiently in a neat way. So that's Web3 Summit.
If I can add just one more color to that, what the nodes or the hackerspace will look like, it's a very big, there's different spaces, of course, also at Web3 Summit, but in general, there's a big room where there's hundreds and hundreds of people in different desks. So basically there's desks where a lot of things happen in a very noisy environment. And then there are also tinier, smaller rooms to do kind of work, more concentrated work. But those rooms are generally smaller. There's one that probably doesn't fit more than 10 people, and another one that it's quieter, but that will have a different kind of activities for design. And when you talk about product research, what are you imagining exactly?
In terms of product research, anything that requires face-to-face, I mean, or you want to have a face-to-face interaction with people. I mean, it's just the opportunity, right? It's kind of like a no-brainer. So it might be just usability research, or it just might be open sessions that individual teams of people can just like decide on what to do. You know, it might, I was thinking of like having a bulletin board pre the event, like before the event, and then just having people kind of put up requests to conduct research, right? And then we might incentivize through maybe like swag, right? Or like bounties network, like that might work nicely. Or even Prague coin, right? For the Prague blockchain week right after that Web3 Summit.
Okay, cool. Any ideas, thoughts, questions for Web3 Summit? Who is coming to Web3 Summit?
Please add it in the document I just posted. Yeah, I'm just need help figuring this stuff out, if possible.
Anybody in the call coming to Web3 Summit?
So I would love. So my team, me and the whole MES team, will be in Berlin at around the time of the Web3 Summit, and we would love to come, but we have made absolutely no arrangements for it. So I would love to talk about Peter about how it works, if you need to buy a ticket, if you can like give a talk and how that would work. But I think that we probably should do that offline.
So the talks are full from what we've gotten feedback as far as Web3 Summit, but they did say we can set up breakout rooms as far as facilitating workshops. So that's something that they're missing as far as their programming, is having good high quality workshops. And they said design could be an opportunity to kind of facilitate those. So the hackerspace would kind of function as more of a hub for people who have open discussions. And then you kind of break out into these rooms and dive into deeper topics and kind of facilitate whatever you guys want to do. So if it's open logins, we could facilitate some sort of workshop or gathering to get the people interested in that and kind of just work on some design, what do you call them, sprints in regards to any topic.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Nice.
why not, right? I mean, you can do it quite informally just in a room and we print out like a side schedule, slap it everywhere, right? And be like, hey, this is what we're doing at these certain locations at these times, right? You don't need to be like the official thing.
Okay, sounds great.
I have one question about this. It's a provocation for each one of us. So if you had to say you were at DevCon or Web3 Summit or whatever, and you saw an awesome UX design thing, what is it? Can we do a tour? Or what is your ideal design activity talk? What do you think is fundamental that you think should be or should happen at these conferences? One thing. Can we do a tour? Can I call people out? Andrea? She's not listening.
Hi, sorry. I was about to leave.
Sorry.
That's a big question. By the way, hi everyone. My name is Andrea. Most people call me Andy. I'm a design strategist at Consensus, working on a lot of PCRs.
Andrea, I think you're gone.
Do we lose her? Mike?
Hear me?
Oh, she did say she was about to leave.
Oh, we got her. Try again. Yeah, I think we got her.
Who's next?
And Andrea, we cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You couldn't hear a single thing I said? Oh.
Just, a bit. Now, repeat, please.
Okay.
We heard your bio.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think one of the biggest questions for me right now is to what degree, in the case of crypto economic systems, we're actually talking about even another different type of design. And by that, I mean something that's more akin to game design, which is my background. So my question has been, can we eventually generate some sort of meta categorization of users, just like game design does with, you have the explorers, the achievers, the socializers. I think one of you, I just recently talked about that, I think at Ethereum Magicians or another one. But yeah, but that to me is a big question. And I think the only space where we might be able to do that is crypto economic systems. Because they are kind of like games and behaviors can be a little bit more generalized. But yeah, that's my question right now, because that would make user testing for me way easier and way less focused on demographics, which is something that I'm really worried about. Yeah.
Cool, very interesting. Yes, absolutely. Crypto economic system and categorization of the users. Anybody wants to go quick, like 15 seconds, because we have to give Peter some time to talk about the map also. Anybody else? Tyler? Your one design dream.
One design dream for
DevCon or a conference.
Oh, you mean like for a workshop or something like that, or
anything? The coolest design thing you can think, or the most important design thing you can think for a conference.
I mean, maybe this is just off the top of my head, but some kind of. I feel like a lot of times, we're trying to make it more accessible, trying to make it easier, but there's still so much jargon and still so much. Maybe some kind of workshop where the whole purpose is like people are bringing their current designs and just trying to dumb it down even more, and quote unquote dumb it down, but just like make it even more accessible, more just like stripping the jargon down like another layer to just like direct, rudimentary language or whatever.
I love the idea of a workshop just for naming things, right? Just for name. Let's refine names for everything. I think that would be very useful.
Here, me too. I have voted that.
Right. Even when in the demo earlier, like even when he was talking about the staking, like even just the term staking is a little jargony. Like I feel like it would make it a lot easier if just use a term where there's like more of a, you know, like you never use staking in real life, and just like I don't stake anything when I go to the store, you know. Can we just, you know, try to use terms that like I use in real life, you know, like I'm betting or I'm buying, or, you know, I don't know, just.
That's a very good idea. Yeah, content is an important one. Minette, you were commenting as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think a lot of us are dealing with the issue of terms, you know, consistency across dApps. You know, just following up on a question that I asked on the Telegram group, you know, how we deal with representing numbers in mobile apps. It would be great if we all could agree on some guidelines for this, so that when users go from dApp to dApp, you know, they're not trying to decipher, okay, and get used to how to read transactions, you know, all of these, how to deal with, like, are we talking about 4 decimal places? Are we talking about 3 significant numbers? You know, this kind of thing it would be great to all sit down and try to come up with, you know, guidelines that we can all try out and see if, you know, they work across dApps.
That would be awesome. At DevCon, I think Laura, who left, or Gustavo is here from the Consensus web design system, Consensus Web3 design system, and ourselves also, Akil and I will present some research about kind of things that could become guidelines, and maybe we can have a in-depth discussion about that and say, hey, this is an open question, let's work on that. So yeah, definitely. Very good. Anybody else want a quick one? Tyler, Gustavo, Akil? No, Tyler, you went already, sorry. Gustavo, do you want to have your dream thing at DevCon? Want to share a dream thing?
Yeah, I have to drop off really soon, but yeah, going along the lines, I would love to see naming and terminology, because I do think a lot of the terms are kind of unnecessary. Like they're like unnecessary metaphors for things that we have like better ways of explaining in the normal world. And then I would also love to see more standardization and talking amongst everybody, or amongst our groups, of just like how do we start to like develop best practices educated by research on showing how many decimal points we want to do, how do we want to format dates, how do we want to like, there's all that's like, how do we want to talk about gas and staking and all those things. Like I think just like standardization is going to go a long way on at least in user experience.
Yeah, awesome.
I was going to say identity, but thanks to Alex, we're going to have a really good turnout for identity on the UXN conference. So it'd be good to kind of facilitate that forward as well in the other events and see where we can take it.
Okay, cool. Peter, your dream thing, and then you tell us about the map.
Depends how we do it, but I haven't put too much on bake. But if we can just rally up some people who've never touched crypto and do live user testing and have everyone watch how that unfurls. Like from the very, like, for example, if we just gave, say, I mean, maybe like people exchange and let them just play around with it, or like watch them play with CryptoKitties and see how they react to the copy on the website, or like see them how they react to, say, ERC stuff, and they're like, what the fuck?
The shark tag.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be fun, but it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways that I'm aware of actually right now. But yeah, essentially, but onto DevCon, right? So essentially DevCon is kind of like the cherry on top in terms of the whole, so there's this thing called I guess the Prague blockchain week that's going to be happening a whole week before DevCon, and DevCon's kind of like the end cherry on top of the whole week. And it's going to be similar to Berlin Blockchain Week with main key big events, including Ethereum Magicians Council, Status Hackathon, and you can expect probably a lot of spots of different meetups about different things popping up during the week before, and maybe the 2 weeks before. I mean, it depends, right? But yeah, so essentially one idea we had with Joseph from a local, from Prague, right? He runs Prague Ethereum, is that he had an idea of essentially encapsulating the whole experience of going to Prague Blockchain Week, right, through a gamified or fun experience. Make it lighthearted and kind of make it funner in a sense. And his approach was to essentially create a treasure map experience where you collect different crypto collectibles or tokens at different places, right? And then you redeem them for in unique swag throughout the event at the end of DevCon. And this may be including going to different landmark places such as the Institute of Crypto Anarchy, and then buying a coffee using Bitcoin, or like or just different landmarks, as well as say just going to different events such as the Ethereum Magicians, and then collecting crypto collectibles through like say geolocation or geo-sensitive devices in that sense. And that's what we've been kind of I guess playing around with, right? And here is a Google Doc which has all of it documented and communicated in some way, shape, or form. I would love for that to go on the YouTube as well, in some, if that's possible. But we're looking, essentially, we're currently just organized. We're on a Trello board, and there's a lot of things to get done, and we would love some help, especially with design, because we've got to design different bits and pieces. But essentially, we're just trying to make Prague Blockchain Week fun. And if you have any ideas, drop by. And the Telegram group is in the Google Docs. All the information is there as well. So, and everyone is on the same page there. So any additional idea you have is just, unique. So yeah, come help.
That looks super fun, Peter. Are you aware of like DogeCon in Vancouver earlier this summer? They did a scavenger hunt kind of similar.
Yeah, that would be cool to check out.
Yeah, it might be a good reference. Yeah, I could try to see if I could contact them and get some documentation or something.
Yeah, that would be really amazing, actually.
Yeah, I'll reach out and get back to you.
So I'm posting here on the live YouTube chat the Prague Treasure Hunt document. The other documents also that you wanted to share. Maybe you can post it yourself. I'll post here the link to the chat. And you can chat it here.
Will do.
This is it. And let me give you the link. Anybody else wanted to comment or ask questions about this? Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up. It's very, very interesting to do these conference-wide activities. I think we will die from Web3 to, at the end of DevCon, of conference overdose. But it will be good. So everybody, thank you for being here. This was live stream number 5, and I think we touched a very important point for the future of Web3 in this space. Talk to you in 2 weeks.
Cool.
See you
Catch you
in Berlin.
Thanks so much.
See you in Berlin. Right. Come in Berlin. Catch up.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you need help, let me know.
Gotcha.
Because I'm gonna be there.
See you. Are you guys doing something interesting design-wise at ETH Berlin that you think, hey, announce it and we come and see it, or you're just going to be there around?
Who are you talking to right now? Are you talking
to
anybody
who's coming to you, to Uminet? You said you're going to be at ETH Berlin.
Yes, I'm going to be there. Well, I think Web3 is at full node. Is that right? So I work there.
Okay.
There's space there.
So it's your house. All right, perfect.
But design-wise, I don't think we're launching anything, but you are more than welcome to come and see the beta. We do have beta for iOS safe. And I can send a link out for the beta of the Android, which is already on testnet.
Cool. Akil, by the way, do you want to announce or give more details about the UX and conference after?
So basically, we're way over capacity. We have like 11 people on the wait list. I was expecting 30 to 40 people to sign up. We have over 70. So it's going to be a bit of a shit show, but I think it's a good opportunity to learn how we're going to facilitate these other events going forward. There's a lot of good people coming through. Hopefully we'll be able to structure some good working groups that will kind of carry on from where we are at right now, and then kind of facilitate conversation going forward. And we'll try to capture all that on Conflux or some other format to facilitate that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Then see you everybody at ETH Berlin, and in 2 weeks' time in the call here. Cheers.
Ciao.
Ciao.